In the shimmering mosaic of American popular music, there are artists whose greatness is acknowledged in platinum records and Billboard stats. And then there are architects, builders of blueprints, quiet revolutionaries who redefine entire genres while the world hums along, blissfully unaware of the alchemy at play. Daryl Hall and John Oates were both. Pop icons, yes. Soul students, definitely. But most importantly, they were genre-agnostic time travelers, decades ahead of their peers, simultaneously channeling the past and shaping the future. Their catalog is an audio diary of emotional complexity, cultural fusion, and musical innovation, often overlooked, sometimes dismissed, but undeniably enduring. You may know the hits, but you probably don't know the full story. It was the late 60s. Turbulent, revolutionary, and loud. The Adelphi Ballroom in West Philadelphia buzzed with energy, a local landmark where emerging soul artists vied for the spotlight, each performance a battle for respect, rhythm, and recognition. That night, two college musicians, Daryl Hall and John Oates, were playing in separate bands, unaware of the moment fate had planned. Suddenly, violence broke out. A gang dispute turned the ballroom into chaos. Gunshots rang out and the crowd scattered in panic. Amid the panic, two strangers ducked into a service elevator. That metal box, 4 feet by 5 feet, may as well have been a time machine. That's the thing about Hall and Oates. Fate didn't just bring them together. It forged them in a crucible of urban energy, grit, and danger. They weren't suburban soft rockers. They were children of the Philly streets and its sprawling music ecosystem. They grew up on the gospel choirs and corner harmonies in urban communities. They lived their early years playing clubs, sneaking into sessions, listening through walls, and absorbing sounds like sponges. And unlike many of their contemporaries, they never appropriated, they integrated. Their music was collaboration, not imitation. That elevator ride wasn't just a chance encounter. It was a sign of things to come. Their journey would be defined by breaking boundaries, blending genres, and refusing to be confined by labels. And they would do it with hooks that refused to leave your head. Every detail, from the way they built their chord progressions to the way they dressed, was crafted with intention, all in service of creating the deepest emotional impact. Daryl Hall wasn't just a singer, he was a vocal scientist. His voice spanned 4 octaves with ease, effortlessly shifting from airy falsetto to soulful, gospel-powered belts, sometimes all within a single line. Listen to Sarah smile and you hear restraint, velvet touch over velvet chords. But when Wait For Me plays, his voice opens up, aching, honest, and filled with a quiet desperation that cuts straight through. His voice wasn't just technically proficient, it was emotionally strategic. Hall's genius extended beyond the mic. He was obsessed with sonic texture. He'd spend days perfecting harmony stacks, altering room acoustics, or adjusting mic placements. He once told Mix magazine that he saw songs as emotional sculptures, meant to be built and reshaped until they resonated with invisible frequencies. He wasn't chasing hits, he was chasing truth through sound. If Hall was the atmosphere, John Oates was the earth. A master of pocket rhythm, Oates was the glue in their hybrid arrangements. His guitar work was deceptively simple, rooted in funk, blues, and folk traditions. Listen to Man-Eater. What sounds like a synth groove is actually an aggressive, choppy guitar riff, drenched in chorus and EQ. His playing often mimicked percussion, a technique later adopted by Prince, Lenny Kravitz, and Nile Rodgers. Oates also brought a deep understanding of lyrical nuance. His compositions leaned into identity, masculinity, and vulnerability with surprising depth. Las Vegas Turnaround plays like a tightly written short story, full of subtle character detail and narrative nuance, while How Does It Feel to Be Back takes the rawness of a breakup and hides it beneath a driving rockabilly rhythm. Oates' songwriting brought a grounded, story-driven sensibility that anchored Hall's more ethereal and exploratory style, creating a dynamic and complementary partnership. Together, they were the perfect balance: soul and structure, feeling and groove, intuition and precision. Abandoned Luncheonette from 1973 was a quiet classic, Despite modest commercial performance, this album became a cult classic among producers and crate diggers. She's Gone is a masterwork of arrangement, lush strings, soul harmonies, folk guitar, and Philly rhythm sections. Questlove once called it one of the most perfect sad songs ever made. The album's themes, nostalgia, loss, social decay, reflected post-60s disillusionment in real time. War Babies from 1974 was art rock mutiny. With Todd Rundgren producing, this was their Radiohead moment before Radiohead existed. Warped tape loops, heavy guitars, political surrealism, it was anti-commercial, pre-punk, and emotionally raw. It alienated RCA executives but inspired underground artists and college rockers alike. H2O was synth funk perfection. By the 80s, Hall and Oates had found their voice, and H2O was their manifesto. Maneater is about capitalism and seduction. One-on-One uses sports metaphors for emotional intimacy. Open All Night channels Springsteen via synth pads. They weren't writing love songs, they were writing social commentary disguised as pop bangers. Fun fact, I Can't Go For That used an early Roland CompuRhythm drum machine which inspired dozens of hip-hop producers. That groove is practically the DNA of 80s R&B and 90s boom bap. Here's something the public rarely acknowledges. Hall and Oates were one of the rare crossover acts whose music consistently resonated across genre boundaries, earning steady airplay on stations rooted in R&B and soul traditions. They appeared on Soul Train 3 times, more than any other artist besides David Bowie and Elton John. Why? Because they understood the culture. They didn't parachute in for a trend. They lived it. They respected it. Hall's time at Temple University and his years working with Gamble and Huff gave him a front-row seat to the evolution of Philly soul. Oates, with his multicultural backing bands and collaborations with Smokey Robinson, was equally committed. Their work created a musical third space. They created a space where diverse musical traditions could speak to each other. Soul, rock, funk, and folk blending seamlessly into something entirely new. What felt innovative then has since become the language of contemporary music. But in the 70s and 80s, it was radical. Despite 34 charting hits and even with over 40 million records sold, Hall and Oates were often dismissed by critics as overly polished or lacking depth. But their lyrics dealt with adult disillusionment, urban alienation, and class anxiety. Adult Education critiques the American dream. Method of Modern Love is about emotional dysfunction. Even their biggest hits, Private Eyes, Kiss on My List, are laced with paranoia and doubt. Their polish wasn't emptiness, it was strategy. They wrapped heavy ideas in clean production to make them palatable. This is pop as subversion, and it's a lesson modern artists from Billie Eilish to Anderson .Paak have embraced. In the 21st century, their influence is everywhere. Neo-soul artists like Mayer Hawthorne and Alan Stone cite them directly. Hip-hop has drawn heavily from their catalog, with artists like De La Soul, Kanye West, and MF Doom sampling their tracks extensively. Indie pop has embraced their sonic blueprint, with bands like Haim and the 1975 channeling their signature blend of synths, guitars, and vocals. Today, streaming playlists have turned You Make My Dreams into a timeless burst of joy, a guaranteed mood lifter that never fades. And Daryl Hall's Live from Daryl's House revolutionized artist collabs in the internet age. It wasn't just a series, it was a cultural bridge. What Hall and Oates achieved is almost mythological. They existed between genres, between eras, between cultures, and they thrived. They showed that revolution doesn't always require noise. Sometimes a whispered melody, a chorus veiled in sorrow, or a subtle backbeat is enough to challenge the status quo. They were the architects of the in-between. The soul in your pop, the funk in your folk, the sorrow in your smile. In an era where genres blend effortlessly and emotional depth is the foundation of modern music, Hall and Oates aren't just icons of the past, they're the architects of a timeless sound, the blueprint from which today's artists continue to draw. Imagine unlimited access to artists like Hall and Oates, with a seamless listening experience all in one free app. RTRP Radio brings you the best independent, underground, and major artists all in one place. We're not just broadcasting, we're building culture. Tune in, turn up, and tap into something deeper. Link for free download in the description.